Churrascata was a 2-day event where they disclosed the location 2 days before, so the council don't shut them down. And the Brazilians had been over to Meatstock earlier and competed in Butcher Wars. So we set up Butcher Wars over there.
This is the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, brought to you by Meat and Livestock Australia, the podcast for passionate butchers.
G'day butchers, and thanks for tuning into the Australian Butchers Guild podcast. I'm your host, Doug Piper. Well, the long hot days of summer are behind us, and it's time to start thinking of those beef and lamb secondary cuts that your customers love to cook up. If you need some inspiration, make sure you check out the value added section in the Australian Butchers Guild website. There are plenty of beef and lamb product recipes there for you to use, or if you're after some great recipe ideas to share with your customers, check out the Australian beef or Australian lamb websites as well. Today I'm talking all things meat with Shannon Walker. Shannon's pretty well known around the meat industry and knows his way around the low and slow barbecuing landscape. Welcome, Shannon.
G'day, Doug. How you going, mate?
Very well. How are you going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Busy.
Busy. Where are you at the moment?
Down in Albury for a kangaroo harvesting workshop.
Okay, nice. Many people interested in that at the moment?
Yeah, it's quite a big industry, actually. It's quite surprising. A lot of people don't know how big it is.
What sort of people do you get to the harvesting events?
We're talking from the age of 17 all the way to 72. Farmers to ex-butchers to just people just wanting a little bit of casual weekend work. Yeah, they've got the ability to go out just on a weekend and harvest some roos and make a bit of spare coin.
Okay, and is this only roos that you harvest, or are there other animals as well?
Donkeys, rabbits, camels.
Camels?
Yeah.
You get a lot of neck chops of those.
There's a few camels out there. The neck chops would be good.
Yeah, I know. I actually saw some a little while ago on one of my trips overseas. I saw a tray of them. Ain't they big? They look like a camel rosette.
Yep.
So, Shannon, mate, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you up to? What you actually do for a job? What do you, to earn a crust these days?
Okay, so currently I teach a TAFE 3 days a week, and I teach the game meat harvesting. So it's mainly from the death of the animal all the way through to the chiller box, the hygiene, sanitation, make sure that's done properly. And in between that, I do a little bit of butchery work from time to time to help people out, and a couple of little side gigs on the side, and that keeps me busy.
Which TAFE are you teaching at?
So I teach at TAFE Digital, which is based in Strathfield in Sydney.
Okay.
I think there's about 750 people normally in the building. It's all online learning. Yeah, it's quite a big section of TAFE New South Wales.
Yeah, I suppose other proteins are becoming quite popular. Beef and lamb, pork, chicken, veal, and goat. It's all basically mainstream, but people are looking for alternatives these days as well. So I suppose with kangaroo being a little bit on the leaner side and some of the other gamier animals, there'd be a bit of a demand for those in the butcher shops around the place, but also a bit more demand to know a little bit more about it, especially in the processing side.
Yeah, 100%. We went a large market with Russia, and we lost that due to the hygiene and sanitation.
Uh-huh.
So we stepped our hygiene and sanitation up a little bit. The course is online, which is difficult because I look after all of WA, Victoria and New South Wales as a sole teacher of the course. So it's a massive area. So we do need that online learning for these guys to be able to get accredited.
Do you get many butchers that are in butcher shops wanting to learn more about it, or?
Surprisingly, it's not so much guys that are in the shops now. Guys that are looking for other options or have maybe moved away and they've looked at the kangaroo harvesting as a job they'd like to do. Like, a very hard, demanding job. It's nighttime work. It's heavy lifting, but it can be rewarding for them too.
Yeah, I don't mind a bit of roo. We used to sell a fair bit in one of my shops many years ago. I think is it Southern Game or something like that? I think they were called the company.
Yeah, I think Southern Game. Macro is one of the main players at the moment. Well, when I first started butchering back in the 80s, there was always kangaroo in the window in a cryovac bag or in the freezer. You don't see it as much anymore, but it is mainstream in the supermarkets. But yeah, I think more and more butchers should look at that option.
Yeah, I used to make a herb and garlic kangaroo sausage with once.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't remember. We just used to use whatever we had lying around when it was starting to get a little bit close to the use by date, as you do. Got to do something with it, so we just do that with it and added a little bit of lamb fat to it too, just to sort of give it a bit more of a sweeter flavour and obviously to give it some fat there so it didn't dry right out like the first batch we made.
Yep, yeah. Herb and garlic sausages were big back in the 80s, weren't they, Doug?
They certainly were, mate. That was the go-to. Tomato and onion and herb and garlic, the two favourite sausages. Mate, you're also really entrenched with Meatstock too, aren't you? I
am. I do love my Meatstock events.
Yeah. So how did that all come about? What was the idea behind that?
Yeah, so Jay Beaumont, he's based out of Port Macquarie. He's not a butcher himself. His grandparents were butchers at actually Greenville, New South Wales, way back in the day. And he just had a bit of a passion for the meat industry, and he went to America and tasted their barbecue and he said, wow, where's this been all my life? You know, he was a balding 40-year-old fat guy and he just found this new barbecue. So he said, wow. So he came back with, you know, just a love for barbecue. And he got together with Adam Robertson, Jess Pryles, and they spoke hours on end and formed the Australasian Barbecue Alliance over here, and did a little event at Port Macquarie, which started with about 30 people. And then he started Meatstock at Sydney, and he decided to, you know, it was no longer the time for the chefs or the home improvement guys to be on the stage. It was time for butchers. So he started up Butcher Wars.
That's a great start for the butchers, isn't it? There's never really been any sort of competition, I suppose, apart from the odd industry one that was around the place, but nothing that's really been opened up to the public, though, has there?
Yeah, and that's what I really enjoyed about the first event. We didn't know what to expect, but, you know, I get there, I meet a little guy called George, who's become one of my best mates, and we had 20 butchers rock up. They didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what to expect. Jess Pryles was the MC, and, you know, 5 minutes into the first round, we look up and the auditorium's full of people. Like, there's probably 1,500 people there watching butchers compete and cut meat up, which hasn't happened before for the senior level.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for people to actually see how an animal is broken down. Like, a lot of people just go to a butcher shop or a supermarket, it's in a packet or it's on a tray, and they just go, bang, yeah, I'll have 3 of those. But it's also a great thing for them to find out how the carcasses break down, and also for the butcher to display his skills, isn't it?
It is. And the butchers also to be able to network with each other and learn off each other.
Yeah.
Like from that first event, there's 3 or 4 guys that have just kept coming back, and they're just getting better and better. And they look back on what they'd previously done and say, how can I improve that? Or you know, and then they'll talk to another butcher and get ideas, and they just practice and come back. You know, the ones that are, you know, on top of it are the ones that practice.
What do they have to do there? How long do they get to run the competition?
Yeah, so they get a side of lamb and half a saddle of pork, and they get 30 minutes to complete that on the one bench. So they must cut and display on the same bench.
Do they have to use the whole lot, or are they penalised if they don't?
They're not so much penalised if they don't. They're judged on speed, and that's where that would come into it. If they only boned out the leg of lamb and they didn't do anything else, they might lose points on speed. But what they've done may be creativity, so they might get extra points for creativity. So it's a tough balance. I hate to be a judge. I've never judged one. I know you have. And you know, it's pretty hard. You've got 4 or 5 butchers up there and half an hour to try and judge all that criteria. So you've got the speed, you've got the creativity, you've got the technique, and then you got the final display.
Yeah, I've done it. I think I've done 1 or 2, I think. But yeah, I remember those, and they were great. Really fascinating to see the types of butchers that actually came out and gave it a crack. I remember there was one guy there, I think it was Melbourne. I think he was from a boning facility somewhere, and he had a ponytail down to about his waist, and he came in wearing Crocs and chain vest on, and I think he tried to bone and roll the whole side of lamb, I think it was. Sort of looked a bit like a crab stuck in a crab net, but I scored him on effort, you know. He really did a great job with what he did. I don't think he really took it seriously, but he wanted to get out there and have a crack, and, you know, he did a great job.
Yeah, I can't think of his name now, but I remember he was a crowd favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah, they loved him. It wasn't a ponytail dog, it was a mullet tied up.
Ah, is that what they call a mullet?
Yeah. It's like Butcher Wars isn't for every butcher. Like some guys are scared to get up there. But when they apply, I say, don't expect to win, but expect to represent the industry and showcase it. And that's what we're doing it for.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. You know, it's like any competition. Just go out there and have a crack and really give it your best. Be professional about it and do a fantastic job, because these people are your customers or somebody's customer that are going to see it. Or if they're not, they might be if they see the type of work that you can do. And I've seen a lot of the end displays that some of the butchers have put together. You got to take your hat off to them, some of the things they can create in such a short amount of time.
It's crazy. I remember one butcher, Tibby Waller, he turned his leg of lamb into a lobster. And it looked sensational.
Yeah.
And it was cookable, to look at cookability of the product. So, there's some stuff's wow out there, but you've really got to look at that too. You better be able to sell it in the shop still.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And I thoroughly agree with that. Being part of the judging criteria is that it has to be able to be cooked. I've seen there was a country out there sort of off the east coast of Australia down to the south a little bit more, made up of 2 islands, but I won't say who it was.
No.
But there was a competition quite a few years ago where they entered a thong that had, it was mince made into the shape of a thong. My sort of question was, how do you cook that?
Yep.
How's the licorice going to turn out after the thing's cooked?
Yeah.
But you've got to have, it's got to be purposeful. It's got to be able to be cooked. So definitely a great part of the judging criteria, because, you can make anything look good with a bit of gold leaf or something sprinkled over the top of it, but how is it going to cook up with it?
Exactly. And just going back to the start of Meatstock with Jay and that, every butcher should really, if they bump into Jay Beaumont, they should shake his hand and say thank you for the amount of briskets, short ribs, Boston butts, all those things that we're cooking now as butchers we're selling. Without what's happened with the Australasian barbecue lines, the market wouldn't be there. It's not a massive market in your shop, but a lot of shops are doing really well out of getting behind that low and slow theme and having those extra rubs and sauces that they can sell.
Look, you look at some of the low and slow social pages. I think Smoking Meat is one that I had a good look at a few times. And someone will post up there, what did you cook this weekend? And then there's photos of a guy's gone into a butcher shop and he said, he's got a photo of a brisket he's cooked, he's got a tomahawk, he's got a Boston butt, he's got a couple of chickens. So when you start doing the math there, you're looking at probably $250, $300. He's just gone in and spent. That's if he's gone in and spent it anyway, whether that weekend or over the period of the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
But it has created such a good market for that. And you go down your local butcher shop. I was at my local shopping centre yesterday, and they had a pre-pack fridge there, and it was chockers full of briskets.
Yeah, same as the beef shin. Jay did a video and it got 35 million views.
How crazy is that? I did that, and I think I got about 30.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, the 30, not 30 million.
No. That's how they respond to it.
Mate, I saw that, and it looked great. He did a great job, and that meat turns out fantastic done like that.
It does.
So I saw there's a guy down in Rose Bay. I was just looking at a few Facebook pages and someone tagged me in one of these photos, and he had, Thor's hammer. He had Thor's hammer sitting there, which is what they're calling the shit on the bone, all trimmed up, ready to go. So, butchers, there's another opportunity for you if you're not already doing it. Thor's hammer, just a shit on the bone, prep it up, French the top of it, give them the cooking instructions.
Yep.
So after meats, you guys went to Argentina, didn't you?
We went to Brazil, Argentina, and Chile.
And how was that? What was that all about?
It was at Churrascada that was the event, and it's a 2-day event where they disclose the location like 2 days before, so the council don't shut them down. So it was in an abandoned warehouse. They had 35 international barbecuers, all different types of methods, and the Brazilians had been over to Meatstock earlier, the butchers, and competed in butcher wars. So we set up butcher wars over there. From Australia, myself, Craig Munro competed. George and Glenn Dumbrell came over to support. We had about another 8 barbecue guys go over there. And it was pretty daunting. Like, the crowd was not massive, but they were close. And there was a TV crew there. And my Brazilian friend said there's going to be 35 million people who watch the news tonight, and you're going to be on it. So that was pretty daunting. But we got up there, we did our best, and I think Craig came third or second maybe. Actually, the Brazilians came 1 and 2, which was great. And we realised how hard it was then to compete in another country, like sourcing products that we used to, like little things like puff pastry or the right size radish was just hard to get. So it was a learning experience, but it was so much fun, such a great event. From Brazil, we went to Argentina, and we went to a butcher shop there called the Tomahawk, and they closed the shop down, set up a dining room inside the middle of the shop for us, and we sat there for 4 hours and ate as much meat as we could.
How good's that?
It was a really, really great event, and our lifelong friends from the event. And since then, we've had Scotland do butcher wars. They're about to do another one very soon. I'm heading over with a few butchers to Germany later in the year. We're going to do a small butcher wars over there as preparation for a larger event. We're going to do that in the Butcher's Hall, which was built in 1597. I'm really looking forward to the history of Germany and the sausage making and all that. I'm pretty excited for that trip.
Yeah.
We've had several other countries really expressed interest in doing the butcher wars. So, we are hoping that one day we're going to have 12 to 15 countries competing in it and then have an annual event.
That would be big, wouldn't it? That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Bit like WBC, the World Butcher Challenge too.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Like WBC's fantastic event. I call it the test match.
Uh-huh.
And the Butcher Wars is more of a 2020. The strong concept of Butcher Wars is that we try and do it in front of public.
The WBC was a big feather in your cap too this year. Well, so late last year, actually, September. It was a big ask to be put onto you to get a team ready within 6 months.
About 6 months, the WBC rang me up and said we need an Australian team. Unfortunately, the previous team had to pull out, so there was no time for us to have tryouts as such. So I had to pick people that I knew, that I'd seen compete in competitions, and we based the team around Luke, who came back from the old team, and we put him as captain, and Tom Boucher, who'd been there 3 to 4 times, I think. And we needed that experience, and then we brought in 4 other butchers to join them, And we just had a lot of support from industry, which made it help, like butchers there just willing to help out and wash up. We had chefs turn up to our training sessions to give us tips, and they'd stay back to and help us pack up the meat. We had a food stylist come in on our own expense and suggest that we do white on white. And everyone go, what? But it ended up working out pretty well.
It did. The end result was the second place in the world.
Yeah, we got second in the world for that. Our apprentice, Matt Teichman, got first, which was really massive. And then we had Gareth Hunt come second in the young butchers, and Joe Mulberry came fourth. So and we made them part of the whole team. Just seeing the faces of the senior team, watch their names get read out, was one of the best things I did, because it was bringing everyone together. We weren't a team, and they were the young butchers or apprentices. We were a whole squad.
Yeah, it was a great result, and everybody joined together, helped each other. There was butchers around, like you said. There was so much help from industry, like other butchers around the country, offering advice and experience that they have had in the past. I think it's a brilliant thing. So, do you see plans in the future for the next competition? What are they looking like? I don't know when it is. I think there's a little bit up in the air about when it's actually going to be, but location as well.
Yeah, we expect an announcement probably in 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah,
on that, but we've already opened expressions of interest for the team. We want to really open up to anyone that wants to try out. It's a big commitment. It takes up a lot of time away from home. But if you think you've got that, reach out to us on the socials, email myself at All Things Meat, and we want as many butchers to try out that think they're capable, and we're going to give them that option.
Yeah, it'd be a good opportunity for them. Would Meatstock be a great opportunity, a great lead into something like that, because it puts them in front of a crowd and gives them a little bit of experience of, what it actually feels like to have people watching you do what you do and be judged on your performance.
Yeah, so each butcher that's expressed some interest so far, I've made the courtesy of giving them a phone call instead of just email. I'd rather talk than type. And I explained on that doing butcher wars would be a great idea, but it's not compulsory. We're not making it compulsory because, people got work commitments, and we understand that. And if you're coming from WA and you've got to go to Brisbane or Sydney, so there's a big expense. We're not making it compulsory, but we do encourage it. And if you were to come 5th to 10th at Butcher Wars, that's not going to reflect on your chances to compete in the Australian team. We're going to look at how prepared you were, how organised you were, how you interact with the other butchers, how nervous you were in front of a crowd. If it was your first time, you're going to be nervous.
Yep, every time I get up on a stage and start talking to people, actually, I get nervous before I get up there. But once I start talking, then I calm down. And also helps if you've got somebody beside you that's talking to you as well. Like for us, for instance, when we're doing a workshop or something like that, if you've got somebody there that you can sort of bounce a few things off. We did something up in Armidale a few months back, where it worked very well. Where you were talking about the low and slow cooking while I was busting down some beef, and what can you do with this? You were giving them that advice that works very well. But up there on the stage, you got people looking at you. You're being eyeballed from every corner of the room. So if you start thinking like that, that's when you start to lose it. But if you just if you just put your head down, do what you do well, the nerves go away and you can just flow.
If you've had a couple of practice runs, you know exactly what you're doing, where everything is. It's not hard, but it's very rewarding. And if you turn up to the event, you forgot a plate or you forgot your knife, one of those other butchers is going to help you out. That's what it's all about. But behind the scenes is so good just to see everyone get together, have a beer at the end of the day. It's really good.
Yeah, there is a lot of camaraderie there throughout the whole competition, which is fantastic to see. It's good for the industry, mate.
It is.
I suppose, obviously, it's open to the competition's going to, or Meatstock's open to all types of butchers, not just butchers. They can be apprentices or they're obviously meat workers. So then there'll be the opportunities there for the future to possible, put your hand up and try out for the big team, for the WBC team.
Yeah. So for the WBC, we're going to give everyone 4 videos with a different protein, and that way they can showcase their skills while they're still in their shop. They don't have to travel, and that'll be over 4 to 5 months. We'll give them a couple of challenges, a couple of questionnaires in between, and I'll be talking to them in between each challenge as well, and just give them a bit of feedback on what they've done, and well done, or maybe you could try something a little bit more creative, or we're really looking for someone to showcase this skill. So I'm happy to give them feedback. The hardest thing is going to be, there's going to be 12 odd butchers that I'm going to say, sorry, you didn't make it. I'm not looking forward to that role, but that's part and parcel of it. And I think everyone understands that too.
Oh, look, just having a crack and taking that on board, take on the feedback that you give them. And if you're not successful, there's going to be others.
Yep.
There's going to be other ones. So there's always a chance to look forward to that one. Never stop learning and never stop trying.
No, and sometimes a knockback or you didn't make the team, but you thought you were very close. It's just going to make it go a little bit harder next time, or think about, okay, let's do a few more competitions. Let's be ready for it next time.
It fuels you up, doesn't it?
It does.
You've also got the book out.
The Butcher's Cookbook.
The Butcher's Cookbook, Volume 2.
Yeah, so Volume 2. So the first one we did probably about 2 and a bit years ago. So we've got 50 butchers from around the country, all submit 2 recipes and a little story about themselves. And we published it and put it out there, and the first one sold out. So we said, let's go number 2. So we've got number 2 in the process at the moment. The response has been really, really good to it. I wanted to write my own cookbook, and I realised how bloody hard it would be. So someone suggested to me, why don't you do it for butchers around the country, which worked out sensational. And the butchers then were selling the books. We didn't put them mainstream in the bookshops or Big W or anything. It was mainly the butchers that were in it were selling the books. And it was a bit of a badge for them. Wow, I'm in a cookbook. They better show their kids, their grandkids. Most of them are pretty pumped for it. Yeah,
something to be proud of, to be part of that. And that's open to all butchers, anybody that wants to go into it. How do they get involved in the future if there's going to be another one?
Yeah, so if we do Volume 3, just keep a lookout on social media. Yeah, the Butchers Alliance page is one that Jay and I run from Meatstock. Yeah, we'll just reach out and let me know you're interested. If we do another one, I'll put your name down for it. We are looking at doing an overseas one possibly, but that's in the pipeline as well.
Do you think you might try and get the book into, say, a Big W or some type of bookshop? Is that a possibility? Or
it is a possibility, and we could have reprinted number 1 as well. At the moment, we just wanted to keep it niche to the butchers that were in it. Because a lot of people, especially with the second book, asking, where can I get the second one? I got the first one, it was great. And they might be based in Melbourne. Whereabouts, Bendigo, okay, you can go to this shop, this shop, this shop. And that way they're going to visit their butcher to buy the book. Now we've got 12,000 people with the cookbook in their kitchen, and they're reading about butchers, and they're cooking the butcher's favourite dishes.
That's a good thing to have out there. I know one of the industry bodies mentioned it quite a few years ago. They said it'd be great to have a butcher's cookbook sitting on the table. And here you go, they've got it.
Yeah, it was a hard challenge to work on. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot less than doing it yourself.
How many different products are in each book?
There's 100 recipes.
That's great, mate. Did we hit on the next load of Meatstock competitions when they're coming up?
At the moment in Australia, we've got middle of March, we've got Meatstock Melbourne. There's only a few spots left for that. Toowoomba's just about full up of butchers, and that's in April. And then we've got May in Sydney. There's still a few spots left for that, but that's always the most popular, so that will fill up. So if you are thinking about it, jump on and do it now. Meatstock's added bull riding to each event this year, Melbourne, Sydney, and some really big name bands. So it's mind-blowing. We've got an American, a South African butcher coming over to Sydney this year, and we had a lot of interest from others, but it's very expensive to fly at the moment. So in the past, we've had quite a few countries come and compete, Scotland, Germany, Brazil. It's been fantastic.
It's good to see the international interest in what Australia's doing in the meat industry, isn't it? It's good to see that they're not just sort of sitting back there doing nothing, but a lot of these guys are really keen to sort of get out and learn more. And I would imagine I know a few guys over the years, and like yourself, made that effort to go overseas to look at what other countries are doing in their industry, in the meat industry, to try and improve their knowledge and what's happening around the place. Yeah,
no, it is. It's like the other countries are looking at us going, we're up there with butchery. And not just a competition butchery, every day-to-day butchery. Like, I do separate that, your normal butcher in a butcher shop, to competition butchery. It's only a certain number of people, but they are looking at us and going, these guys are doing it right.
Yeah.
And there's a few guys leading the way on social media, which, that's the biggest platform for the international butchers to connect. It's a big butcher family, as Alda from Brazil goes, big butcher family.
Our podcast, it's international, it goes everywhere, and we get a lot of butchers from Ireland tuning in.
Okay, yep.
And the States, but Ireland is probably the standout one for me. I thought, wow, such a small place with so many people downloading.
They came fourth in Sacramento, and they lost half their pallet, and we lent them a mesh apron. We lent the Germans a mesh glove. We're happy to do that, but they struggled, but they came fourth. They did a really, really good effort.
It's good to be able to help out like that. Like you said, it's a butcher family.
Yeah, it is. I wanted to win the event, and coming second was great, but the bottom line was meeting everyone.
Yeah, exactly. The networking side of it, which is which is crucial. I remember one of the first ones I went overseas to was in the UK when it was the Tri-Nations, which is New Zealand, UK and us. And we met so many great butchers over there, and they opened up their shops and they fed us pork pies all day long. I think they were trying to just make us that fat we couldn't walk. Every place you went into, they had a tray of these like little pork pies straight out of the oven sitting on top of the counter. Come on, boys, get another pork pie into you. Mate, I still can't face another pork pie. I ate so many of them, and I think that was about 10 years ago.
In Brazil, Alder Lopes, his name is, he's got a shop over there, and he's got his cooking ability too, so he'll cook steaks and salads and have everything ready for you. And we sat down there, I think there was about 8 of us that day that went to his shop, and we ate for 3 hours and drank for 3 hours and didn't pay a cent. And just the hospitality was just great.
The hospitality side of it's worth its weight in gold, isn't it, to everybody, to both sides of the fence, whether you're visiting or you're entertaining.
That's right. I've had butchers come over for Butcher Wars and Meatstock, to make it easier for them. I said, stay at my house. Young Erin from Scotland, she stayed with me for 4 weeks. She travelled a little bit in between, but I said, my home's yours for 4 weeks. A young girl just came over and completed Butcher Wars on her own. She worked a day at Victor Churchill. She went down to Melbourne, worked a couple of the shops down there. She had a ball. She loved it.
So what else is on the cards, mate? What else? Anything new happening with you or anything coming up?
Oh, there's a few things coming up in the pipeline. Can't be disclosed yet, but mainly working on getting through the Butcher Wars comps this year, getting over to Germany, and just trying to make the WBC just going that one step better, and just giving people the opportunity to be part of the team, and those that doubted us, jump on board. We heard all the doubts. It made us go stronger. We didn't keep it to ourselves. We shared it amongst each other and said, these guys are doubting us. Let's get out there and just do our best for our country.
Yeah, and you did everyone proud, mate. Well done.
Pretty special moment for everyone.
I think I might have said it before, and I'm sorry, Rod Slater, if you're listening, but I was watching it on TV when they announced the runners-up and then the winners, and then when the Kiwis came in third and Australia came in second, you could see Rod in the background, his head just sunk. But I sent him a text straight away, and he was straight back again, like I've said before, that Trans-Tasman rivalry is just so strong, but it's a healthy, strong rivalry that we have with those guys. We love them to pieces, and we love the banter and the competition with them. But it's great to see that everything's still going ahead. And looking forward to the next one, mate. Yeah,
well, it started with New Zealand and Australia, and as a team, we spoke about the history of the event and the butchers that have competed before, and how we looked up to all of them. But now it's our time.
Yep.
Everyone that's competed in the past, thank you. Wow, you set that platform for other butchers, and that's what we're having to do, set it for more butchers coming through.
All right, mate. Well, seeing you can't tell us what top secrets you're working on, well, we're going to leave it there, and you can get on with the rest of your afternoon. So, look, mate, really good to catch up with you, and thanks a lot for being part of the podcast. I'm sure a lot of guys have got a lot of questions, or hopefully there's a lot of guys and girls out there, female butchers out there, that have got a few questions that want to get involved and get in contact with you through the social pages, through the Butchers Alliance.
Butchers Alliance, you get me on Instagram, all things meat. Ask any questions, reach out. We're an open book. In everything I do, Butcher Wars, WBC, we're going to be an open book. The thing is making people happy.
Awesome. Good stuff, mate. Thanks a lot for everything, mate. Well done.
Good on you, Doug.